Hello everyone, so it's week 3 of our CSA and we have a couple new items this week and a couple repeat items. So I'm going to start with the new ones. So tonight we'll go over what we get in our share this week, how to store each item, and then a couple of ideas on how to use them. And then I'm going to talk about some things that I did with leftover produce from last week. So to start, we have collards. So the collards are really big. These are best stored in a plastic bag in the fridge. So I've been using the Debbie Meyer green bags. They are fantastic. If you don't have them, I just ordered this set on Amazon. They are reusable, so I just rinse them out if they need to be rinsed out, and then dry them and then reuse them. So they're pretty big. This, I think I got a variety pack, but this one is really large. So I recommend putting the leaves in, putting the leaves first, and then letting the stem stick out if you need it. So that'll just go right in the fridge like that. Collards are good for, my favorite thing is to blanch them and use them as wraps. They can be sauteed. They are good in soups. Lots of different ideas for those. My favorite thing is wraps because they hold up really well when you use them as a wrap. The next new item is fennel. So fennel, in order to store this, we want to cut off the stems and the feathery parts of the fennel and store the bulbs separately. So we got 2 fennel stalks. So cut these off, store the bulbs in one bag, and then store, the fronds are really large, so you can take them and put them in, I don't have them cut obviously, but once they're cut, you can put them in the glass of water like we do some of the herbs. If they're too big for that, you may want to cut them in half, like these are really large. Stored in the fridge. Fennel, great for roasting. You can actually take this part that looks like an herb and use it as a garnish. The stems are great sometimes to use as straws or to put in a cocktail or a drink. Kids really like them. It tastes like licorice. So the bulbs can be roasted. They can be grilled. They can be sauteed, and then it also can be eaten raw. So you can cut it up in slivers, just rub some lemon on it so it doesn't discolor. So those guys in the fridge. I'll get another bag for those. The next new item is broccoli. Broccoli we also want in the fridge. And all of this stuff generally we don't want to wash until we're going to use it. It just lasts longer. So unwashed, throw it in a plastic bag, put it in the fridge. These guys, because they're organic, critters tend to hide out in the tops of the broccoli. So it's really good when you go to use them to have a bowl of salt water and dunk them in the salt water and let them soak for a good 10 minutes to get all the critters will come to the top, and then your broccoli will be critter free. These guys can be steamed, roasted. You can blanch them quickly or steam them for a few quick minutes and then freeze them. You can also serve it raw. So I think broccoli we're all familiar with. Okay, and then on to a couple of our old items that we will repeat. So Tuesday is spinach. So for spinach, we want to remove the rubber band, throw them in a plastic bag, and put it in the fridge. Can serve it raw, can saute it, pairs really well with eggs, can throw it into a smoothie. I love spinach raw, so that's my favorite. In the fridge. If you are a Thursday share, you're not gonna have spinach because it doesn't like, I think Trisha said the heat. So you're going to get dandelion greens. Dandelion greens, if you get those on Thursday, they're gonna also be stored in the fridge. Dandelion greens, we can eat raw or cooked. They pair really well. You can do like a pesto with them. You can saute them. There's a recipe on the blog. I'm pretty sure I did a recipe last year with dandelion greens that was really yummy. So if you get your dandelion greens, just go to the blog. All the recipes I talk about are on the blog. So if you go to Blooming Glen blog or Blooming Glen Farm website and then click on the blog, the top, go to blog, and then you can type in whatever word, whatever item you're looking for. So I would type in dandelion greens, and I know there was one last year that I worked on and put up. So dandelion greens get stored in the fridge as well, in a plastic bag. Okay, bok choy. So bok choy we've had before. We had it last week, or maybe the week before, but we definitely had it before. Stored in the fridge, unwashed, in a plastic bag. When you go to cook it, it's best to remove the stems from the leaves, and typically they cook at different times. This week's recipe is gonna showcase bok choy. So if you wanna wait for that recipe, all the recipes for the week are posted on Thursdays. So if you wanna put this away and save it for Thursday, there's a recipe coming for bok choy, and it would make a great side, or it works really well. Stored in the fridge for that guy. We got kohlrabi again. So kohlrabi, remember, we remove the bulbs. We want to store the bulbs in a separate bag. The stems and the leaves are pretty edible. This is a spring kohlrabi, so the bulbs themselves do not need to be peeled. The skin isn't super thick yet. So you can just clean them up, and then they can be diced, they can be eaten raw. I love them raw. Last week's recipe, I'm getting confused, but I think last week's recipe I did the showcased kohlrabi, and there was a lot of positive feedback on that one. So if you didn't try it this week. I actually cut up a bulb tonight for dinner, and the kids ate it raw. It tastes really good. So the bulbs separate, stored separate. The leaves and the stems stored in a separate bag in the fridge. The leaves and stems can be used just like greens. So they can be sauteed, they can be eaten raw. And the bulbs will store a little bit longer than the leaves will. We got a 1/2 pound bag of salad greens. So stored in the fridge, unwashed. If you do wash it and you have leftover, like you don't end up using it all, then store it in a plastic bag in the fridge, but put paper towels in it, dry paper towels, so that the moisture is soaked up by the paper towels and doesn't make the lettuce yucky. So that's in the fridge, and obviously that's great just for all kinds of salads. I use this for my salads for lunch. Okay, you either received dill or cilantro. Both are stored in basically the same way. The dill, if I got dill, I'm going to remove the rubber band, and I'm going to put it into the jar with water, and that's going to go right in my fridge. I actually never used my dill from, I believe, 2 weeks ago. It was looking lovely in my fridge, so I will show you what I just did with that because I knew I was possibly getting more as an exit strategy. I'll show you that. But this gets stored in the fridge. Mine lasted over 2 weeks. Same thing with cilantro. So if you got cilantro, jar of water or glass of water, put it in the glass of water, store it in the fridge. That you can also cover in plastic, and it will last a little bit longer. Both dill and cilantro can be frozen. So let me show you what I did since we're talking about that. So I had cilantro left from last week. So as an exit strategy, I I wanted to freeze it. So I layered paper towels. I washed and dried the cilantro and then layered. I have several layers in here of the cilantro. I labeled it, put the year. You could put the actual date, like I could have put today's date or yesterday's date whenever I did this. But that's going in my freezer, so I'll have fresh cilantro if I want to add it to different meals. I did the same thing with dill. So I knew I was possibly getting one or the other today. I had my dill from 2 weeks ago. It was still beautiful. I washed it, I dried it, and then I layered it in between paper towels and put it in the freezer. So easy way to preserve it. If you still have items from last week or the previous week, think about, am I gonna use it? If I'm not going to use it, how can I preserve it and make it last a little bit longer? So this was my one method. I also, behind me, where I'm throwing all the vegetables, have my dehydrator going. And in my dehydrator, I have dill. Cilantro doesn't dehydrate fantastic. It kind of loses its flavor if you dehydrate it. So I like to freeze cilantro. But dill I have in the dehydrator. That's actually almost done, and I put it in there this morning. And then the other item I have in the dehydrator, I still had a few scallions left. So our scallions are enormous this week. These go in the fridge in a plastic bag. Great mild onion flavor, so I love to use it as a garnish on top of like mashed potatoes, on top of salads. This is actually one of the things I used as a garnish on top of the recipe that will be posted on Thursday. But we have a lot of them. So if you end up not using them all, you can also dehydrate them. And let me show you, these are from last season. So this is my dehydrated dill. I probably should have it in a glass, not in a plastic bag, and then these are my dehydrated scallions. And the ones that look brown are just the white ends. I use all of the scallions, so the white bottom part are the ones that kind of look brown. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay, a couple of items. Dill goes great with eggs. Dill goes awesome in dressings, marinades, dips. There is a dip, I believe, from last year. I want to say it's like a vegetable dip. Just type in dill in the recipe blog and that will come up. Cilantro, obviously really good in salsas. I'm pretty sure someone posted on the blog a cilantro pesto, so that's fun and different. So those are ways to use those. And then our scallions I talked about. So our last item, oh no, not our last item, second to last item, is our lettuce, stored in a plastic bag in the fridge, obviously used for salads. Because this is our head lettuce, you can use it on top of burgers, you can use it as wraps. We actually use this as like our burger bun because they're nice and sturdy. So makes great, and there's lots and lots of salad recipes on the recipe blog as well. So look for that. And last but not least, we have our strawberries. So we're picking 2 quarts. These are best stored in the fridge in a colander where they can drain. If you're not putting them in the colander, then the other option is I could leave them in here, but put a few paper towels in the bottom, just so that it sucks up the moisture and doesn't, because what would happen is the ones on the bottom would get a little bit mushy. Believe it or not, half of one of these is already gone because my kids started eating it. So strawberries, let me make sure that I didn't miss anything. So if you have a pickup on Thursday, the only thing you will see different is you won't see the spinach, you'll see the dandelion greens. We talked about that. And there also are some pick your own herbs. So if you want to pick, I know there was chamomile, there was some lavender, I think there was tarragon, all of the ones marked with the flags you can pick. So just make sure you bring little bags or things to put your fresh herbs in. So I will post this. If there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.